Have you ever noticed that even the most confident women have something about them that's hard to put into words? That fleeting glance of hesitation, that almost imperceptible reaction that speaks louder than 1,000 sentences? An enigma that, if perceived with sensitivity and clarity, will profoundly transform how you connect with women. It won't just make you seem different. It will make you stand out, no matter how self-assured, distant, or independent she seems. Beneath the surface lie layers that few men can decipher. It's precisely in this uncharted territory where the true enigma lies. Many men are still trapped in an outdated view of attraction, believing they need to prove something: success, power, looks. They strive so hard to please that they miss what a woman truly desires. Not performance, but presence. They try to fit an ideal image meant to impress. She's captivated by someone who sparks both devotion and admiration. You can say the right things, act respectfully, show genuine interest, and still watch her drift away. Most men try to convince through facts, presenting themselves as reliable, stable, respectful. That's all fine, but only after you've sparked something in her. No, it's not because you're not good enough. This article isn't about tricks or cheap lines. Be the kind of presence she can never fully grasp. Be so captivating that she never knows what's coming next. But what truly lingers in a woman's memory? ESNT. What you show her. Hit S, what you make her feel. Understand this, warrior. Because in her world, what matters isn't what you say, but what she involuntarily experiences when you're near. This is where men who understand this game succeed. They're not always the most handsome or richest, but those who've grasped that power lies in emotional tension, not negative tension. But that invisible spark that unsettles her, holds her, makes her want to be with you without fully knowing why. It's not about status, but emotions. It requires the courage to acknowledge what no one talks about: hidden vulnerabilities, desires, fears. Not what you offer, but what she experiences emotionally when she's near you. And that's where many go wrong. They're so busy trying to seem perfect that they forget to be genuine. This isn't achieved with empty compliments or exaggerated promises. She falls in love with what she feels, not what she sees. Behind every emotional barrier a woman has, there are entry points not for manipulation, but for genuine understanding. When you recognize these invisible doors, you stop being ordinary and become an emotional experience she'll never forget, no matter how hard she tries. You'll learn what only a few men truly understand. What follows could change not only your relationships, but also your place in them. She doesn't fall for who you are. She becomes addicted to how she feels with you. If you're ready to look beyond the obvious and master the emotional language of women without losing your essence, stay with me. You can have a prestigious job, look attractive, have good intentions, and still be ignored. The real reason, rarely revealed, is that women don't connect with logic. They cling to feelings, to what you make them feel, to what you ignite within them without words. Before that, you can be the ideal man in theory and still evoke nothing. The most common mistake is predictability. Responding too quickly, always being available, agreeing to everything. The result is security, but it lacks desire. When a woman only feels security, she also feels something's missing. That's why she often pulls away without fully understanding why. Don't just be a safe haven, become an emotional earthquake. Speak in pauses, instead of rushing to reply. Let silence do the work instead of filling it with explanations. The true test of worth isn't in what you give, but in what you don't compromise. Men who devalue themselves rarely do so consciously. Ask questions without predictable answers. Because if she feels you're not just an option but an emotional experience, she won't compare you to others. You've likely seen or been this man, the one who does everything for her, is always available, takes on everything to avoid losing the connection. Avoids conflict, never says no, and does everything to avoid being misunderstood. But in the end, that's exactly what happens. She'll desire you. It's a pattern, a reaction born from fear of scarcity, disguised as kindness. But if you hold your stance, your vision, your inner peace, you become the exception and what's rare becomes valuable. But the one who challenges her to grow beyond herself is the human brain, especially a woman's, more attuned to emotions, becomes addicted to what it can't control, to doubt, to the space between what's said and what's felt. That's where desire is born. The inexplicable is always what unsettles her most. Men often don't grasp the power of uncertainty, that constant need to always be available, clear, transparent. So stop trying to impress with gifts. It's tough, perhaps, but it's human, and genuine respect is the foundation of lasting attraction. A presence that radiates peace is worth more than 1,000 love promises. This has nothing to do with money, physical strength, or exaggeration. It's about care, evident in what you radiate. What she truly desires is a pillar, someone who doesn't crumble when she's vulnerable, who listens without judgment, stays steady without clinging, sees her even when she's breaking inside, yet remains present. This kind of presence is rare, requiring self-control, emotional maturity, and the ability to stay calm in uncertainty. When everything around you shakes, what matters is your attitude, your calm, your firmness. Many men think they must fix everything, that their role is to be a supportive partner who solves problems, absorbs worries, calms every crisis. You can tell her you love her. Repeat it 1,000 times. Swear you'll never leave. But if your presence doesn't exude stability, those words mean nothing. When everything is fully explained and revealed, it loses its allure. The key is simple. Don't be an open book. Be a puzzle she wants to solve. Offer clues, not maps. Create tension, not routine. Surprise her when she expects the ordinary. And above all, don't over-explain. A man who poses questions without answering them becomes instantly unforgettable. Not because women seek games, but because they need mental stimulation, which only arises when questions linger unanswered. He doesn't chase women or make them the center of his life, because he already has his own, his mission, principles, direction. These men are relegated to good friend, nice, sweet. Why? Because they didn't offer the most valuable thing, space for imagination, mystery, letting her fill the gaps with her own fantasies, which are often more powerful than any reality. If you say yes when you feel otherwise, you're unconsciously giving her permission to test you, and trust me, she will. A deliberate pause is more effective than an impulsive reply. Her curiosity ignites when she realizes she doesn't fully know you. Not out of malice, but instinct. That's what makes him attractive. She senses he's not trying to conquer her. There's a clear difference between kindness and submission, between presence and neediness. They're misunderstood, seen as weak, predictable, replaceable. The uncomfortable truth few admit is that women don't respect a man who always sacrifices for them. They may like him, he may offer security and reliability, but desire doesn't arise in comfort. Desire is born in the tension between what's secure and what could be lost. A man who understands this knows his limits and isn't afraid to set them. He has more important things to do, lives his life, and that's exactly what draws her in. She cancels plans without warning, just to see how you react. She'll provoke you to test if you can stand your ground, try to steer conversations and set the pace. All to discover if you're truly in control of yourself. This is where it all comes down to. If you give in at these moments, you become just another guy, pressed with what you don't give up, because she doesn't fall for the man who molds himself to her. This attitude destroys any trace of tension and what's entirely predictable. Even if it seems perfect, quickly becomes boring. Women don't fall for rehearsed answers, but for what unsettles them, makes them think, fantasize, question. That's why men who show everything up front fail, constantly explaining themselves, reacting to every need. You don't need to be an actor or pretend, but you must understand that silence is worth more than 1,000 empty words. A woman who thinks she knows everything about you soon loses interest, but one who feels you're an unsolved enigma stays engaged. Women don't fall for what they understand, they fall for what they can't explain. What truly connects a woman emotionally isn't pretty phrases, but the feeling that with you, she doesn't have to carry the weight of the world alone. But this often backfires, because she doesn't want a savior. Don't take offense if she turns inward instead of leaning on you when she's fragile? Yes, women often test this stability, usually unconsciously. They provoke, cry, pull away, just to see if you'll stay steady, if you'll remain. Most men don't. They lose control, argue, try to control, or flee. Then she realizes you're no different. But when she feels that even in a storm, you're there with her, something shifts. Then what happens? You lose the mystery, the charisma, the leadership. That's the real secret. When you show you re with her because you want to, not because you need to, you awaken her deepest impulse admiration. A woman who admires a man won't trade him for anything, because she not only wants to be loved, but to feel proud of the man she loves. The freedom you grant speaks louder than any words of love. Without realizing, you stop being a man and become a fan. A fan may be charming, but never irresistible. A woman who feels free and connected at the same time won't look for another path. Because she knows loving you doesn't mean losing herself, but rediscovering herself. But when, despite challenges, you remain her rock when she loses balance, you're no longer just a partner, you become her anchor. They don't seek perfection, but true presence, a man brave enough to be himself, not what's expected. She feels this energy, even if she can't explain it, because it's not logical, it's emotional. When you become that man, not perfect, but genuine, you won't need to chase her anymore. She'll recognize and choose you, not out of lack or need, but out of pride, for being with a man who challenges, inspires, and strengthens her. Now it's up to you. Will you keep seeking validation, approval, and emotional dependence? Or will you grow, raise your standards, and become the man she feels and never forgets? The man who leaves a mark isn't the one who meets expectations, but the one who knows his limits, has his own path, is so emotionally stable he can dive deep without losing himself. But beware, true presence doesn't mean enduring everything or losing yourself in the process. It's about setting firm boundaries to protect your energy without closing off emotionally, showing you're there without sinking with her. Such a man is rare, and thus invaluable, because he doesn't flee yet doesn't lose himself. She doesn't seek perfection, she craves real presence. But one of her deepest desires is to feel free with a man, free to be herself, make her own choices, keep her identity. But the truth is, that's not what matters to her. What she seeks, consciously or not, is a man who stays emotionally present, even when she's breaking inside. When her moods shift, when her emotions overflow, when she can't even understand herself. This is where many fail, trying to silence what they don't understand, saying things like you overreacting or it's not a big deal, or pulling away, unable to handle her vulnerability. But in those moments, she doesn't need a critic. She needs someone who stays, supports, doesn't label her as difficult, but sees her as human. True connection isn't born in calm, but in the storm, when her inner world is in chaos, and you're still there, calm, clear, showing no signs of flight. Paradoxically, this freedom makes her commit more deeply. Because when she feels you don't control, limit, or underestimate her, she draws closer. Men's biggest mistake is confusing closeness with possession. The feeling that, even in chaos, she's not alone, that you'll be there when she falls. Such a man isn't just loved, he's admired, and admiration is the foundation of everything. But she'll never want to lose him. Warrior, after all you've read, one thing should be clear. It's not about techniques, money, beauty, or well-played roles, and certainly not a scripted plan. They think love is shown by controlling everything, knowing where she is, who she's with, what she's doing. But what starts as care becomes surveillance, and what's meant as attention turns into control. Women notice, even without words, when you're too available, when your life revolves around her, when you need her presence to feel complete. A man who understands the value of freedom doesn't fear distance, doesn't panic when she needs time for herself, doesn't falter when she spends time on her projects, friends, or family. The freedom you give is a silent sign of trust. And trust isn't built with control, but with the confidence you exude when you don't need to prove anything. If you don't react impulsively, don't fight her life, but walk beside her, that lightness becomes attraction. Because she knows that with you, she doesn't need to fight to remain herself, yet still feels valued. Instead, he respects and supports her. At that moment, something crumbles, because deep down, she doesn't want to be the center of an empty space. She wants to be part of something bigger, to walk alongside someone already in motion, not someone who stops just to hold her hand. That's why high-value men don't rush. Stay focused, honor their commitments, keep moving forward. And while they invite her into their life, they don't force her entry. She relaxes, trusts, and when a woman truly trusts, she gives herself fully, not superficially, but deeply, because she knows this man won't crumble with her, nor let her fall alone. So don't rush to put out every fire. Stay calm, steady. A man who exudes that calm isn't just desired, he's respected. And where there's genuine respect, love doesn't need proving. It grows naturally. Women want to be chosen, but never feel they're your only option. There is a powerful paradox at a woman's heart that many men don't understand, and even more overlook. Every woman wants to be chosen, to feel special, unique, desired, but she also needs to sense you have options, that you're a man of value, someone who doesn't depend on her. Though it seems contradictory, a man's worth isn't in what he gives up, but in what he represents. The biggest mistake is surrendering too quickly. You meet an interesting woman and instantly make her the center of your attention. Cancel plans, adjust your routine, prioritize her, plan a future together without knowing if she's on the same path. This is what works because she perceives a man with purpose, someone who doesn't cling, who stays steady even without her, yet chooses her. She may never say it outright, may not even know how to articulate it. Unintentionally, they begin to suffocate her, because every time she feels she must justify herself, she loses a part of herself not out of rebellion, but because her essence is slowly crushed. He knows a woman given space grows, and when she grows alongside a man who doesn't oppress her, she falls deeper in love with him and the woman she becomes. So the next time you feel jealousy, insecurity, or the urge to control, breathe and remember. A weak man resists, a mature man flows. Amid her inner chaos, you might try to be the most admirable man, controlling every gesture, weighing every word, steering every conversation strategically. That's the difference between a man she forgets and one she respects. Because she knows love isn't proven in quiet days, he stays steady, stable. In the end, it's not appearances, money, or perfect words that move her. Women don't connect with what's calculated, but with what's genuine, rare, lasting. It's not grand gestures that make him unforgettable, but the small things, the non-judgmental look, the silence that brings peace, the strength that doesn't harden, the freedom that sets no barriers, the space he gives and fills.